Good afternoon, and thank you for coming to our presentation today on how to manage a blueway starting from the water up. I'm Renee Powers, the Trails and Greenways Coordinator for Roanoke Parks and Recreation, and I will be your host today. Our objectives today are to examine amenities that help define the blueway experience, learn how to engage volunteers in the blueway management, and to understand the importance of partnerships in blueway management. So what is the Roanoke River Blueway? It is a 41.3-mile section of the Roanoke River that starts at the South Fork of the Roanoke River in East Montgomery County near Lafayette, Virginia, and continues through the city of Salem, Roanoke County, city of Roanoke and Benton, to Hardy Ford at Smith Mountain Lake, Virginia, which is a Department of Wildlife Resources access ramp. It is a free-flowing river except for two different spots, the Niagara Dam at Roanoke County at the Blue Ridge Parkway, and there is a low water culvert bridge in Smith Park in the city of Roanoke. And it connects these municipalities by water and really allows for paddlers in the area to have an urban river experience. The Roanoke River Greenway also follows the river for over 1/3 of the distance, and this allows for easy shuttles by bike or by foot on some really popular stretches. And it's overall an urban oasis for recreation and wildlife. So this is a printout of the map. It's a little hard to see just because it is 41.3 miles long, so it gets really stretched out. But over here on the far left side, you can see the East Montgomery Park put in right above the confluence with the North Fork. And then we have many put in, 17 in total access points that are public access for paddlers, stand-up paddleboarders, folks that are looking to fish, to be able to get out and access the Roanoke River. Many of them in town here, like in Salem where I live, are very close together. You can do great little short stretches after work and then walk the Greenway back up. Some of them are longer, like Wayside Park down to Green Hill Park, which is about 7 miles. This is a zoom in of one of the kiosks maps that we have in Wasena Park. We're just getting ready to get this one printed and installed, but it kind of shows you a little bit more how through the urban heart of the Blueway system here, we do have all access points marked, and then also we've got some hazards marked as well. Things like the Wasena Park low water bridge, the Franklin Road low water dam, things that are portages are in red, like Niagara Dam. Things that at certain levels are just hazards that you need to know of are in yellow. And then we also have some information on whether the access point is river right or river left, and also the latitude and longitude for folks to put into their GPS. Another really important thing to think about with Blueway management is talking a little bit about that safety and stewardship, making sure that people understand they want to be good stewards of the river, that they want to be safe when they're out there. So wearing those life jackets, checking water levels, knowing before they go, only using those public access points and not angering our private landowners that are along the way. And then also leave no trace, really encouraging folks to pack in and pack out, be respectful of the wildlife. They're already stressed in an urban environment at times, and not really angering great blue heron nests, but enjoying just their presence on the river. These are a few pictures of the Blueway. We have a gentleman here fly fishing down in a stretch that goes through the city of Roanoke. On the left here is a really popular whitewater surf wave called Timber Truss Wave that's up in Salem. And then this is a picture on the bottom right here of a paddler in the Roanoke River Gorge section, which goes from the Niagara Dam at the Blue Ridge Parkway down to Rutraw, where it turns into Smith Mountain Lake. So the Roanoke River Blueway Committee. This committee was established in 2013, and we do meet bi-monthly. It's currently housed in the Roanoke Allegheny Regional Commission, which is our planning commission, and it includes staff from the localities, members from the community, local CVB or Center for Visitor Bureau representation, and local business owners and civic related conservation groups. Groups such as the Upper Roanoke River Roundtable, a representative from Roanoke Mountain Adventures, which is a local guiding company, are also present on there to provide their perspective. And the main focus is to improve the user experience, share upcoming events, and plan future amenities. They also host the website and create and distribute brochures and maps to the public, which is really helpful. So volunteers, how can we engage volunteers in the Blueway? And I'll highlight this picture here of Chaz Downs, a recent Eagle Scout who just installed a Blueway kiosk and boat rack at our Bennington 13th Street access point. So volunteers can be encouraged to be a member on the Blueway committee. It is open to anyone. They can organize a group for a Greenway/Blueway cleanup. Like I said, we do have Greenway along about a third of the length of the Blueway. So those two facilities really are in conjunction with one another in terms of providing an access for shuttle and really providing a lot of visual affirmation of the river. They can help with construction of amenities. I work with Eagle Scouts and Gold Award ladies all the time, or groups that want to help with signage and boat racks. And then you can also just be a river advocate, paddle, encourage others to get out, lead a safe river trip, and be a good Samaritan on the river. Partnerships are also really important. I've kind of alluded to this a little bit with the river cleanups, but having those volunteer groups to help with efforts like this allows us as staff to be able to focus on some bigger things such as, river cleanups and infrastructure and kiosks, maps, and boat racks, marketing and education, awareness and engagement. Those all are really good partnerships because you really can't do it alone. As a Parks Division employee, we work very closely with the City of Roanoke Stormwater Division for flood cleanup, education and environmental efforts, helping to lead some of the stream cleanup stuff. And then Clean Valley Council is a nonprofit in the Roanoke Valley that leads a fall waterways cleanup and a Clean Valley Day, one in the spring, one in the fall, to really help get the public passionate about cleaning up trash in and adjacent to our river. Here are just a few pictures from some river cleanups we've had. The one on the left here is from this February, where we had a cleanup where we took 1,400 pounds of trash out of the riverbank area, the floodway area, and the greenway adjacent to it. And then on the right is James from Roanoke Mountain Adventures, leading a Blueway cleanup in 2017. They had adopted that section of river from Vic Thomas through River's Edge as part of the old DCR program on adopting a river, and that company, even when that program went away, has still continued to this day to lead river cleanup several times a year just to be good stewards. Challenges, there's always challenges. Governing by committee. So, you get citizens that are really passionate, you get staff that might not be as knowledgeable of what it takes to manage a river, what a river is and means. So there's always some grinding of the wheels, I guess you can say, around that. For us, Stormwater Division oversees the physical water, and the Parks Division oversees the land. And we have the right people in the right places to make it all work, but that isn't necessarily the case everywhere, and it hasn't always necessarily been the case all the time with us. You want to make sure that you have a good delineation of this is a partnership. Do you need to drop an MOU? What does that mean to be a partner in something? What weight are you going to pull? What are you going to let go and kind of give up in that? With volunteer engagement, you can have a lot of overexcitement at times. So making sure that you definitely have that citizen engagement perspective. You want people that are avid river users to be passionate about this, but maybe they don't understand some of the inner workings of how to get a low water bridge removed and some of the costs associated with that. And that might not be the highest priority for a municipality when there's schools that need money and roads that need funding and things like that, and how to balance all of that very delicately. Lack of communication with cleanups and pickups. This is something that we've had this spring with a lot of folks wanting to get out after COVID and really help out in the process, but unfortunately, aren't letting us know. So then they're cleaning up. You can see this picture on the right here, just leaving it in black bags and tires, like right next to the river. Well, if we don't know that that's there, our staff can't come and pick it up, and then that trash ends up back in the river if the water comes up. So, we're trying to come up with how can we encourage folks to go and do these things, but also have good communication as to what was done and where, so we can then follow up with that. Everything flows downstream. And, one of the other challenges is we can do a great job in the city of Roanoke, but if we don't have our partners in Roanoke County and Salem and Montgomery County educating their citizens, doing these same efforts, we are just going to continue to have a flow of trash downstream, continue to have the same kind of pollution in the water, continue to have the same kind of challenges on high water events if we don't have the same kind of stormwater protocols in place. So, using those partnerships, having good relationships with those folks that are upstream of you, and then being a good steward to those that are downstream is really important as well. And then funding's always a challenge. Some things that we want to be able to see are additional wayfinding signage on the river and on street to our public access points. We want to improve some of our public access points and make them ADA accessible. And then we also have that low water culvert bridge that I mentioned earlier in the presentation at Smith Park that comes with a $2.1 million price tag to replace and make navigable. So, funding can come in the form of grants, it can come in the form of capital money, it can come in the form of fundraising, but it's always a challenge to be able to do all the things that really you want to do and some of which are necessary. So where do you go from here? First off, you need to have a river or a body of water. The best place to start is to inventory existing public access and conditions. Public access can be something that is a boat ramp owned by your game and inland fisheries agencies or a state park or a municipality. They could also be a private access point at an outfitter that's open to the public. And it's also not just important to inventory those, but also assess the condition of those. Is it just a bank that's been trampled down and has a lot of erosion around it, or is there a really nice concrete ramp going down that would be able to be accessed easily by rafts for swiftwater rescue teams? Those are two very different put-ins and allow very different access to the water. And also just, other conditions are, is there space for a kiosk there? Is there parking there? Would that place be a good spot for it if it doesn't exist currently? Find partners that are passionate about river health and recreation. You can get people that are really excited about water quality that have never been on a canoe or a kayak before. And then vice versa, you can get people that paddle all the time and have no idea how important river health is. And really having both of those things together is what creates a good, strong partnership and a good advocate community for your Blueway. I would also encourage you to think about mapping and wayfinding signs. As someone who paddles whitewater frequently, I didn't really see much of this until recently, but most of these Blueways, especially urban ones, are going to be in areas where people aren't used to being on the river. When I go on a class 3 or 4 stream, I don't expect to have wayfinding, and I don't think anybody would, but someone who is in town and trying to get their bearings and isn't used to being on the river and is trying to figure all this out, it definitely helps them feel a little more comfortable. Work on manageable sections of the river as well. Think about those 2 to 6 mile sections that somebody can float in a tube or, paddle in a sit on top or a canoe with their family and actually, have it be a half day or a whole day experience. When you get farther than those 2 to 6 mile sections, you also risk, people getting out on public land to take breaks or private land to take breaks, which can cause some landowner issues. And then also, just being out there for too long and they don't realize that river miles go a little slower and then they're calling 911 and all swiftwater rescue stuff gets activated. So really communicating with folks how far it is between access points and having those access points, 2 to 6 miles away is probably going to be best. And then finally, once you have that inventory and kind of go through all this stuff, look at what it would take to make those chunks, those 2 to 6 mile sections. Do you need to talk to private landowners about easements or fee simple acquisitions, or does there need to be some sort of partnership in terms of management to gain those additional access points? So at this point, we are going to turn it back over and see if you have any questions. Thanks.